In one of our previous episodes, we made this bow using just one piece of wood. We did this back when our technology level was not even in the Bronze Age, we were still in the early Copper Age. This proved to be pretty difficult to make with such primitive tools, and the end result was effective, but not the greatest. It had a pretty low draw strength, and I had some cracks that were forming in it that potentially makes it likely to blow up at any moment. But now we've advanced both into the Bronze Age and then into the Iron Age. So today we're gonna try and make one of the more complicated bows, the composite bow made famous by the Mongolians. So this is a bow made up of a variety of different materials that kind of take advantage of their different strengths to make something that's highly efficient, small enough that you can shoot it off of horseback. We have the rest of the elm tree I cut before. There'll be the wood core of it. So we have the Gemsbach horn. And a modern compound bow, this is like the fiberglass. So this should offer a lot more resistance, a lot more power. Our favorite silkworms we raised previously this summer for a fishing pole line. They'll offer the drawstring, providing a lot more strength to that. Then we have sinew that will back it, and they'll be held together with hide glue used by just melting down some scrap hide. Then for the feathers, we have turkey feathers. Then for the iron tools, the Viking axe, we have the saw that will eventually be in our full sawmill, the draw knife, and a hammer and chisel. And we're going to combine basically all of them together to form a composite bow that should hopefully have a lot more draw strength. Let's see what we can make, see if it turns out any better.
Everything we use comes from 8,000 generations of collective innovation and discovery. But could an average person figure it all out themselves and work their way from the Stone Age to today? That's the question we're exploring. Each week I try to take that next step forward in human history. My name is Andy, and this is How to Make Everything.
A thank you to the sponsor of today's video that without this wouldn't be possible. It's a very obscure game. I don't think many other people are talking about it. I should probably double check that. But at this point, I think we're probably the first people to ever talk about this game. It's called Raid Shadow Legends. This month, Raid Shadow Legends is celebrating their 2-year anniversary. And supposedly we're supposed to have some sort of special guest and, well, welcome. The team at Palermo is continuously expanding the Raid universe with more champions and challenges to keep it our favorite turn-based MMORPG game that's out there. Use the links below to download Raid yourself to your mobile device or PC. There's really never been a better time to start playing, and here's the best part, the Raid team is giving away a bunch of new free goodies, including a rare champion, Jotun, from the Barbarian faction. Speaking of factions, Raid has 16 different ones, such as Banner Lords, High Elves, Undead Hordes, and even more. My favorite faction currently is the High Elves, as the Recurve bow is one of their main go-to weapons of choice. Maybe I should make one of those. Starting this month, they've got 6 straight weeks of anniversary events and tournaments running all the way through to the middle of April, with insane prizes to win. They're even launching their first ever clan versus clan tournament to give players a chance to compete directly against other clans to see who comes out on top. If you want to get a huge head start in Raid, just hit the link in the description. And you get a free epic champion, Jotun, 100,000 silver, 50 gems, 3 ancient shards, so you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in game. All this treasure will be waiting for you here, but hurry because they will only be available for the next 30 days. Happy anniversary to Raid Shadow Legends. Click the link below in the description to join the celebration.
I previously made a bow and arrow in our ongoing quest to rebuild civilization, but at that point I was still technologically before even the Bronze Age, and only had Cold War copper tools, such as a rough axe, a chisel, and draw knife to achieve this bow. Since then, I've been able to upgrade tools both into the Bronze Age and now into Iron Age, which should make this entire process faster. So let's try something a little harder. My previous bow was a self bow made entirely from a single piece of wood. This time, I'm going to try something a little more complicated. The style of bow I'm aiming for is roughly based off of the Mongolian composite bow, a type of horse bow. Horse bows are known for using layers of different types of materials that produce an even stronger draw strength, which allows the bow to be more compact and easier to maneuver and fire while riding a horse. The style of bow is popular all around the world and became the preferred type of bow in most areas that have a dry and arid climate. The reason for this is that hide glue was used to hold all the layers together and is water soluble, so in rainy or humid environments, there's an increased risk of the bow failing. This led to self bows remaining the preferred method of bowery in more wet areas such as Britain. So first, starting from the leftover stave of wood from my last bow, I can start cutting and splitting it into sides. One advantage of making this a compound is that I can use different selections of the wood and combine them together, so I can cut shorter segments that have fewer weak points such as knots, and get the most ideal pieces. V-notches will help connect the joints, allowing more surface area for gluing. Meanwhile, Lauren was working on making the arrows. First the arrowheads with the help of Adrian.
What we're going to be doing is making some tanged arrowheads, 1st century BCE to the 1st century AD. When you're choked up, you have way more control.
I just don't want to hit my craft.
We're just going to start drawing the tang, and all that means we're going to start at the tip, and we're going to turn it 90 degrees and strike there. So you can kind of see how it's already starting to take that taper down shape. You're going to work 2 faces and then the other 2.
Ah! Okay.
And once it looks clean enough, you can put it back in professional.
Way heavier than you make it appear.
Had a couple missed strikes there, but that's okay. You're up. Start at the tip, so that gets the thinnest. There you go. And just fall into the rhythm. Let it bounce back up from the anvil. Very light. See if it's nice and even. You're just going to take it and let it swing down. Just keep drawing that down. Now in this black heat, clearing up a lot of these marks.
Okay, so I want to keep it at the edge, right? So I can kind of, oh, sorry, Dan. Bink, bink, bink. Love it.
So now you see we have that neck down started out. We want to get that down closer to, tapering from 3/16 to an 1/8 along the way down to a nice point. So now that I have my tang all established, I'm going to form one of those bodkin points. We're going to do it at a much steeper angle, and we're going to have that come straight down.
Oh.
Now you can really see the arrow starting to take form, flares back out. You kind of see how we're starting to get that bend in there. So I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to the hot cut tool, going to start rolling it on until just a tiny bit is left. Twist it off.
Way past cool.
You can actually take it on the horn and start to define that point out. Straighten that tang.
Oh no, I'll go to this side. It's not gonna break, is it?
Probably not. And now you're still gonna bring your hammer straight down.
At a tilt?
Straight down but tilted, yeah.
Well, we did it. I did it. My first arrowhead, thank you.
Yeah, you did great for a first time, honestly.
You hear that? It's not too far off of yours.
It's a little bit thinner and that's about it.
Yeah.
Now to prep the horn, by first sawing it down the middle. Then I soaked it in hot water and spread it all around the horn surface. Using a bench dog, and then clamped it down as tight as possible to flatten it out, which it'll then form to as it dries. This took a few rounds of attempts to get it flat enough. Once satisfied, I carved it down even flatter using the draw knife until they had a nice consistent bend to them. For the bowstring, we're going to use the material supposedly used by Mongolian archers, silk thread. This summer we raised a new batch of silkworms to use for our fishing pole line, so we can reuse some leftover cocoons for our bowstring.
Alright, so today we're gonna make the bowstring. We're gonna be using the cocoon from our silkworms. Rest in peace. But in order to get that off, we will boil them. It'll start to come away from the cocoon. By twirling it, it will stick on the stick. And we'll pull it on these other sticks and make a longer piece that will eventually be spun together to make a stronger thread.
Next, using some leftover scrap maple, I carved what are known as sias. They're bent arms at the end of the bow that hold the bowstring and apply some additional leverage power to it. I carved and notched them together, then carved another piece of elm for the handle between the two arms.
All right, so we got the 5 different pieces that are the wood components of the bow. So we're gonna glue them all together with a hide glue and then wrap them in string to hold them in place. Then we can start compositing all the different layers that'll strengthen it after that.
Yummy, yummy. Animal skin taffy. This one side.
Then back to Lauren as she starts to assemble her arrows. Now to start compositing the layers of the bow, first with the layers of horn. I had to add a few more layers of wood to the handle to help hold everything extra tight, then wrapped all the joints with string just to give it a little bit more strength. Next up, the plan was to add a layer of sinew to the opposite side, which further improves the draw strength of the bow, as the sinew has an elastic property to it, helping it spring back once the arrow is released. However, due to some technical issues and running tight on time, I have to hold off on that step for now and do the upgrade in a later episode.
All right, so after a lot of struggle, I have the now completed bow. Everything is wrapped up, glued, and dried, so hopefully everything will hold. Very paranoid about this snapping. A lot more parts to this that can all fall apart. I accidentally snapped off one of the Sias, so I had to shorten them a little bit to balance it out. So now is kind of the moment of truth to string it up and hope that it does not blow up on me. Very paranoid about that.
So this might be how the video ends if it just blows up right now. Zip the bowstring, try this out. One of the techniques for doing this is to look down here, ankle supports this limb. Hopefully can do this without dying. Don't break. It's cracking, it's separating. Not looking good. Could tailor it a little bit more, I think. Gonna need some more work. All right, so I went through and tillered the wood down a lot more, re-glued everything, wrapped everything in string to help reinforce the glue, and then glued that as well. So I'm feeling pretty confident about this. Hopefully we can string it up and actually fire it. Still not certain how effective this is. I'm going to stick with the store-bought drawstring for now, and we are strung. Hopefully it doesn't blow up. Got our arrows, got some store-bought ones. We'll try the store-bought ones first, see how they compare. And then as a backup, Lauren has her own bow. A little bend, it's a little strong in those parts. So that could be a point of failure, unfortunately. I think we are good enough to give it a shot.
For the gram.
Beautiful.
Gotcha.
Got him. Got him. Wow.
I blinded him.
I have a few issues I can tell already. Some of the glue is lit up here, so the string is definitely helping hold it together, and got a bit of a twist to it, probably causing some issues with accuracy and things a little bit curved. If it fails, it's probably going to be right here. I've got one of the primitive arrows. See how they stack up? They're a little shorter.
Next, we tested the bow for range and found we maxed out at around 40 yards. A bit of a far cry from the Mongolian composite bow, which could supposedly be accurately shot up to 350 yards.
All right, so I was a little skeptical at first, but after a lot of trial and error, the bow has actually worked out pretty good. Able to get pretty effective shooting from it, some decent range. Not the most accurate. I think that's something that's going to take a lot of refining. There's a little things that make it a little imperfect. Got some twists here and there, a little too much bend in some of these spots that are a little weak. A little bit of improvement, add the sinew, and we'll have a really powerful bow. So we're gonna do a follow-up video. I'm gonna explore making some specialty arrows as well as some poisoned arrows, and then we're going to build a giant version of this, basically a siege weapon called the ballista, and really destroy some stuff. Thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon, and thanks for watching.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and check out other content we have covering a wide variety of topics. Also, if you've enjoyed these series, consider supporting us on Patreon. We are largely a fan-funded channel and depend on the support of our viewers in order to keep our series going. Thanks for watching.